Thought Power, Chapter 5, Thought Attraction. The second great principle of the activity of thought power, which is involved in the manifestation of the radioactivity of thought and the induction action of thought, is that known as the attractive power of thought, or the drawing power of the mind. In the operation of this principle of thought power, the thought vibrations manifest a strong attractive force by means of which they attract or draw to themselves other thought vibrations of a similar character. The same principle operates in the direction of drawing or attracting to each other or to a common center, different individuals of the same general trend of thought. It also tends to produce and induce many other forms and phases of attraction between thoughts and things, ideas, and persons. Thought attraction plays the same part in the world of thoughts that gravitation plays in the world of matter. Gravitation operates in the direction of drawing toward each other the particles and masses of material substance. Thought attraction operates in the same direction of drawing together those thought currents, thought waves, thought vibrations, etc., which are of the same or of a similar nature. Thought attraction operates along the lines of the general rule that like attracts like, and thoughts manifest a tendency which is well expressed by the familiar adage, birds of a feather flock together. In short, thoughts have been discovered to manifest a strong tendency to enter into close relations with other thoughts of a similar character, and to attract to themselves these similar thoughts, while at the same time they themselves are attracted by the latter. A mutual attraction exists between thoughts of the same general character. There is something like a chemical affinity existing between them, and also something like a chemical repulsion between thoughts of opposite character. A mutual attraction exists between thoughts of the same general character. There is something like a chemical affinity existing between them, and also something like a chemical repulsion between thoughts of opposite characters. As a consequence, the person who in a strong degree manifests definite thoughts of a certain character sets into operation the power of thought attraction, and thereby draws and attracts to himself the thought vibrations, thought waves, or thought currents of other persons whose thoughts closely resemble his own. In short, such a person draws from the great mental atmosphere surrounding him on all sides the active energy of those thought vibrations which are in harmony with his own. And at the same time, he repels from his mental atmosphere those thought vibrations which are inharmonious with his own. This, as you will readily see, applies not only to desirable and advantageous thoughts and mental states, but also to those which are undesirable and disadvantageous. You have frequently experienced the workings of this mental principle in your own mental states. You have dropped into a mood of depression and gloom. Everything looks blue to you, and nothing looks worthwhile. The cause may be physical, or it may be purely mental. It matters not so far as the effects upon other thought vibrations are concerned. Before long, you will feel as if a deep cloud of depression were settling upon you, shutting out the rays of the sun and enveloping you in a mental atmosphere of gloom, pessimism, and discouragement. You have attracted toward yourself the thought vibrations of other persons which are in harmony with your own. This in turn will result in a still more powerful attractive force being set into operation in the same direction, and you will go from bad to worse in the matter of gloom and depression. Finally, however, the protective forces of your being will cause a swing of the pendulum in the other direction, and you will experience temporary relief. But if you persist in encouraging gloomy thoughts and the consequent attraction of similar thought vibrations, you may eventually reach a state of chronic depression and gloom, into which the sunlight of cheerfulness is almost unable to penetrate. Your only hope in such case is deliberately to set into operation thoughts of an opposite character, thoughts of cheerfulness, hope, and encouragement, which will attract other thoughts of a like nature and will thus counteract and neutralize the negative, depressing mental states which have afflicted you. In the same way, though in the opposite direction, you will find that if you will strive to secure and to maintain the characteristic mental state expressed by the words bright, cheerful, and happy, you will attract to yourself similar bright, cheerful, and happy thought vibrations, thought waves, and thought currents. You will feel their uplifting influence almost at once and will experience the delight and advantage of a mental atmosphere of this kind. Not only will you attract these positive, inspiring thoughts, but you will also repel the negative, dispiriting thought influences in the great mental atmosphere surrounding you. Thoughts of hate, anger, envy, and jealousy tend to attract to themselves the thoughts of others of the same kind, and these in turn induce a still higher degree of these objectionable mental states in your own mind. You sometimes bring upon yourself veritable whirlwinds of hate thoughts by sending forth strong thought vibrations of that kind. The old saying that curses like chickens come home to roost has a practical realization in cases such as we have just mentioned. In the process of thought power, your mental loans are returned with compound interest, the payment being made in the same kind of mental coin, good or bad, which you have paid out. If even from only a purely selfish point of view, it pays to send out the right kind of thoughts. Avoid sending out thoughts of a character which you would not like to have returned to you in kind, with interest. On the other hand, sow that you may reap, sow that which you hope to reap in the field of thought. From what has been said, you will see that the inductive action of thought is largely modified and influenced by the attractive power of thought. The degree of the liability to induction, contagion, or thought influence of any kind depends largely upon the character of one's own thoughts. In other words, one is far more likely to be affected and influenced by thought vibrations, currents, waves, or atmospheres in harmony with the character of his own thoughts than by those not in harmony therewith. In fact, such a definite ratio exists between thought induction and thought attraction that an exact formula might be worked out by a competent mathematician familiar with the data. Another important and interesting point should be noted in your consideration of the subject of thought attraction. We have made reference to the fact that not only do you attract thought vibrations, thought waves, thought currents, thought atmospheres, etc., of a harmonious character and to which your thoughts have a natural affinity, but that you also attract to yourself, by the power of thought attraction, other persons whose thoughts have an affinity and harmony with your own. In the same way, you attract to yourself and are attracted by other persons whose interests run along the same general lines as your own. You draw to yourself the persons who may be necessary for the successful carrying out of the plans and purposes, the desires and ambitions which fill your thoughts most of the time. And in the same way, you are drawn toward those into whose plans and purposes you are fitted to play an important part. In short, each person tends to attract toward himself those other persons whom he needs in order to materialize his ideals and to express his desires, provided that he wants hard enough and that the other persons are in harmonious affinity with his plans and purposes. According to this principle, certain towns and cities of a strong mental character tend to draw to themselves persons from all over the country and even from other countries whose general mental natures are in harmonious affinity with those of the place. In the same way, many individuals of certain general mental or emotional characteristics are almost irresistibly attracted by and drawn to certain towns and cities with the general mental character of which they are in harmonious affinity. You have often seen cases in which persons could not keep away from certain towns, cities, or parts of the country for which they were naturally fitted by reason of their mental characteristics. This is one of the reasons why particular places rapidly take on certain mental characteristics once the process of thought attraction and thought induction have been started. There are other and more subtle phases of the operation of thought attraction which must be noted here, although they involve the activities of certain powers of the mind and of nature, which are but little understood by the great masses of persons. We have reference to the fact that by thought attraction, not only other thoughts, not only other persons are attracted, but that also the conditions, environment, and circumstances necessary for the effective expression and manifestation of one's thoughts are often brought into actual relation to him. They can scarcely be said to have been attracted to him. Rather does it seem that he is attracted to and by them. There evidently is some sort of correlation set up between these things in one's thoughts, and subtle natural forces are called into operation in order that there may be a coordination of the person, the time, the place, the conditions, the opportunity required for the expression and materialization of the thought. One of the present writers, about 20 years ago, wrote the following statement concerning the general operations of the laws of thought attraction. They serve equally well to express the general idea today, even in the light of the investigations which have been made along the same lines during that period of time. We take the liberty of quoting the statement in full, believing that it will possess a special interest to the readers of the present book. The statement in question is as follows. Your thoughts place you in connection with the outside world and its forces, and you attract and repel people and things by the character of thought held. You and they are attracted to each other because your thoughts are pitched on the same key. You are in close touch with all other parts of the whole, but attract to yourself only such of the parts which correspond in kind with your mental attitude. If you think success, you will find that you have started into operation the forces that are conducive to your success. And from time to time, if you maintain the same mental attitude, other things will fall into line as they are needed and will aid you in your efforts. Things will seem to come your way in a most astonishing manner, and opportunities will arise, which, if taken advantage of, will ensure to you success. You will find that new thoughts will come into your mind, which should be taken advantage of. You will meet with persons who will help you in many ways by suggestions, ideas, and active help. Of course, the work which you must do yourself will not be performed for you by others, but the law will continually help you and assist you. It will bring opportunities and chances to your door, but you will have to take them in. It will lead you up to the doors opening into advancement, but you will have to open the doors yourself. It will undertake that you will seem to be roundabout roads to get to a thing, but you will arrive at your journey's end no matter how winding may be the road. Sometimes it will take you far past the point at which you thought you were aiming. And as you go past, you will smile when you recall that this point on the road, which now seems so unimportant, seemed a little further back to be your destination, your reason for making the trip. Sometimes the thing which seems to represent all that is worth having and which inspires you to make the effort will have lost all interest for you when you near it. You will make no effort to grasp it as you pass, but you will move on past it, swept forward by the tremendous forces which you have perhaps unwittingly set into operation. In other books of this series, we have considered the effect of desire upon the degree of the attractive power of thoughts. We have likewise considered the important part played by confident expectation, faith, and hope upon the tendency of thoughts to express themselves in action and to materialize themselves, in which processes thought attraction is involved. It is sufficient here merely to mention the fact that desire animates and energizes the attractive power of thoughts, and that confident expectation, hope, and faith greatly inspire and increase the drawing power of thought. We also wish to call your attention at this point to the fact that you not only attract and draw to yourself the thoughts, things, persons, and conditions representing your wishes and desires, the things that you like, in short, but that you also attract and draw to yourself under certain conditions the things which are the subject of your fears. Fear thought often exerts a powerful attractive force in the wrong direction. This because the things you fear are held in mind by you often to a marked degree. You think about them and roll them over and over in your mind. You let your mind dwell upon them, often to the exclusion of the thoughts of the things you hope for, desire, and ardently wish. Your very fear of a thing is, in a way, at least a partial belief that it will come to you, a form of confident expectation. You hold the thoughts of the feared thing in your mind, you form mental pictures of it in your imagination, you dramatize it, as it were. This being the fact, is it any wonder that fear thought attracts and draws to you often the very things which you have feared? The things I have feared have come upon me. The essential principle underlying the manifestation of thought attraction seems to be as follows. All thought seeks to express itself in action. All thought seeks to materialize itself in objective form. Therefore, the thoughts strongly held in your mind and the mental picture held in the imagination, tending to express and manifest themselves, attract and draw to you other thoughts, persons, things, conditions, and circumstances of a kind and character likely to bring about and affect such expression and materialization, and also operate so as to direct you toward the persons and things likely to affect the same ends. This rule holds good even when you do not desire the particular things, but on the contrary, entertain such a lively fear toward them that they are constantly on your mind. The logical rule, therefore, is hold the thoughts and ideas and the mental pictures of those things which you wish to be expressed and materialized in objective form. Do not dwell upon the opposite kinds of thoughts, and above all, do not allow fear thought to master you. Construct your own mental patterns and molds, your outlines and diagrams, and never allow fear thought to perform this work for you.